Is this thing on? Thank God for that. Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you here in June. I'm very welcome, my friends, and especially my enemies. Come in, sit down, no touching. I don't do the touching. Are you feeling charitable? Then smash the subscribe button and the like button, and please do follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad. Hello and welcome to Saturday's edition of the DC Multiverse Daily. I'm Big Mouth. I'm the host with the most. Just ask all your wives. Yes, welcome. And on today's DC Multiverse Daily, we'll be talking about what it's like to be a Snyder DC fan, the challenges of that, the reputation, how hard it was to step out onto social media for so many Snyder fans, and, you know, the bullying and the toxicity surrounding the fandom and surrounding other people's kind of opinions of us as well. Then we will talk about Christopher Reeve as Superman. It was Chris's birthday yesterday. Of course, we lost Chris many years ago. Back in 2004, was it, if I can remember rightly? And thankfully, Smallville gave him a really great send-off as well in Season 4 as Smallville, which aired in 2004. And finally, we will be talking about the breaking news that we have finally found an actor to play Hulkman. Very excited to be reading a Deadline article about that. But first of all, I want us to sit down and relax because it's Saturday. It's the weekend. Not much is dropping. I think we can forget everything else that's gone by this week and just focus on what it's like to be a fan of Zack Snyder's DC Extended Universe. Thus far, comprises of two films, Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. I want to explain to you, for me, what it's like to be a fan of Zack Snyder's DC Universe, because this is how I got into this whole thing, really. In terms of DC, I've always been a DC fan. Fell in love with Superman when I first saw Superman the movie as a kid. More on that later when we talk about Christopher Reeve and we remember the Grey Man. But my involvement with Zack was that I saw 300 once and loved it, and saw Watchmen once and loved it. I loved those films, but I didn't go back and watch them. They weren't the kind of things I was into back then, but I did enjoy the films and appreciate what Zack did with them. But you know what? I didn't even know the guy's name back then. So I carried on with my Smallville fandom and my Superman obsession. But things were different back then. We're not kind of in the situations we are today with entertainment. I think I only got a Twitter account in 2009 when Smallville was on its 9th season, and that was very exciting for me because I could talk with other fans. It was a bone of contention for me that I couldn't find a place to talk to other fans about Smallville because my family and friends certainly weren't interested. Anyway, in 2011, I think, it was announced that Christopher Nolan and David Goyer would be writing a script for Man of Steel, and that Christopher Nolan would have this Godfather role over this movie and over the rest of the universe that was coming. But I think we were all saying privately, or even online, we were saying, oh, come off it. Christopher Nolan is going to write and direct Man of Steel. Of course he is. He's a writer-director. He's not just here for the fun of it. He's not just here to be a puppet master, a Godfather role. What's all that about? Anyway, I read something very interesting that Chris Nolan had offered to allow Ben Affleck to direct Man of Steel. Now, this is a very true story now. Now that we're here, we can say, after the fact, Ben was offered to direct Man of Steel. This is very true. This is how Ben responded. He was very grateful and very excited, but he said, listen, I'm still very young in terms of my directing career, and I don't think I'm capable of taking on such a mammoth project. So really honest from Ben. And so I think that Ben may have suggested Zack and Deb. And I think what happened when Chris and Emma looked into bringing Zack and Deb onto the project, he kind of saw echoes of his business relationship with his wife, Emma. And he saw Zack and Deb like that, you know, a good, solid couple, you know, loving couple, really good sort of the earth people. But the thing he was looking for from a director was visuals. A visionary standpoint was very important to Chris, because the reason Chris wanted deeply and desperately to direct Man of Steel, but he knew he didn't have the ability to bring out those visuals that Superman needed. in 2013. So, Chris was very desperate that this would be an eye-popping, stunning visual delight, as well as it being emotional and compelling with character development. So, obviously, he knew about 300, he knew about Watchmen. He also knew that Zack was a very controversial choice, but I think he bought the bullet because, as I said, he saw Zack as an echo of himself, just a little bit more proficient in stunning visuals. Not that Chris can't do stunning visuals, by the way. That's not what I'm saying, and I'm sure Chris has great confidence in that. But he didn't feel confident about, really like Ben Affleck when he was offered it. Look, I just think this project is too much for me. And so he admitted that. So they spoke to Zack and Deb, and Zack and Deb were a bit resistant because they didn't just want to make, a mamby-pamby, version of the 1978 movie. They wanted to make something relevant, and they didn't want to make something childish, which was fair enough. But when they read David Goyer's script, now David Goyer had this alien invasion story back from the days when he had writer's block trying to do The Dark Knight Rises. And so it was him who went to Chris Nolan, and Chris Nolan went to the studio, and of course the studio said, well, yeah, you did The Dark Knight, mate. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, the first I heard of it was in 2011, when the news broke that Zack Snyder would direct the next Superman film, which would go with the same title Bryan Singer's Superman Returns sequel was going to go. But instead of Superman, Man of Steel, they were going just for Man of Steel. Very exciting title. Obviously, titles like that in the comics as well. Superman's been known as the Man of Steel for a very, very long time. It's a great title, but people were not happy. I mean, this was back in the day where there wasn't a Snyder fandom, not a visual Snyder fandom. It was back in the early days, right? I think Zack did like 3 very good movies, and he'd done obviously commercials and stuff like that. The hate for this man and the hate and the resistance for him to actually direct this film. I mean, I remember being on Facebook and being on Twitter, and people were not happy. And I was stunned. I was truly stunned. I said, this must be the worst director in the world, because I didn't link Zack's name to doing 300 and Watchmen. And so I looked into it and I said, bloody hell, this is the guy who did 300 and Watchmen. This guy's a fucking genius. Jesus Christ, what is your problem? And then I looked deeper into it, and a lot of Watchmen comic book fans weren't happy with his interpretation of that film. So already we had this hatred for Zack Snyder. Of course, that hatred was going to be nothing to what we were going to get after the Man of Steel sequel. But we're not there yet. So anyway, the Man of Steel commercials started coming out, the TV spots, the trailers. I was stunned. And I remember thinking, and I've said this before, how is this film actually this good? It looks good. It's not going to be this good, surely. Right? It looked amazing. No surprise to some and to most because it's Zack Snyder. But I saw Man of Steel in theatres, and I saw this film 3 times, and I was obsessed with it. I was just sitting there laughing how good this film was. Not only did it look beautiful and stunning, it was like I'd opened up a comic book, and these things were real. It was amazing. And what's amazing about Man of Steel and BVS, right, and I'm sure with Zack Snyder's Justice League as well, the visuals stand up eternally. Now, 2030, in 2 years' time, this film Man of Steel will be 10 years old. And in 2 years' time, those visuals will stand up to anything anybody's done, even Cameron's Avatar, right? Which I don't think the visuals are as good as Man of Steel. That's just my opinion. I think they're great and they're stunning, but not as good as what Zack did. So we had this whole situation with Man of Steel, the controversy. There were a lot of controversial moments. People weren't happy that we didn't see Clark grow up on Smallville and it was flashbacks. There was people that weren't happy that Jonathan went back to save the dog. We've discussed that before. I think there's not one dog owner who wouldn't go back to risk their life to save their dog. And if you don't get that, you're not a dog owner. I'm not a dog owner either, but I get that. I know lots of dog owners. Anyway, but the biggest controversial thing about this film was Superman breaking General Zod's neck. Now, I remember seeing this and absolutely so compelled and shocked. And I remember the cinema was so fucking quiet after that moment happened. But I didn't hate it. I thought, wow, he had no choice, did he? This is a massive moment. But of course, being a Superman fan, I should have clicked on that people weren't going to be happy that Superman killed someone, especially like that. And even Christopher Nolan said he was a bit unsure about it, but David convinced him it was a good idea. And it's really funny how Zack Snyder gets the blame for that, or the credit for that. Either way, depends what your opinion is. But Zack Snyder actually had nothing to do with that. That was all David Goyer's idea. But Snyder just gets blamed for everything, even the stuff that's not his fault. He even gets credited for stuff that's nothing to do with him. That was David Goyer's concept. It was his idea. And if you hate it, tell David. If you love it, tell David. That's the fact of the matter. So already Snyder was getting the blame. The Superman fandom was divided, but still, the fans of Snyder were very quiet. They hadn't come out yet. So critics were kind of split between Man of Steel, as they were with Superman Returns, by the way. But Man of Steel made just under $700 million globally, and that was one of the most successful origin movies of all time, just behind Raimi's Spider-Man, before the days of Marvel making billion-dollar MCU origin stories by cheating. Anyway, but that was nothing. If you think that was controversial because people were moaning about, the explosions, the violence, everything. Anyway, we came to BVS. So people really didn't know what to think about Batman versus Superman, because I do feel there was supposed to be a Man of Steel 2 before that, and maybe Batman would have cameoed, but it was never supposed to be this. Warner Brothers were concerned that Superman, Man of Steel didn't make, Man of Steel didn't make the billion plus they expected it to make, because they believe, as I believe, Superman movies should be making $1 billion plus. So they said, what can we do here? They felt it was a kind of failure, even though it wasn't. And I don't think that Man of Steel was a failure in any shape or form. But anyway, they decided to do a Batman versus Superman movie. It was a dream of the studio for many, many years to do this. And, they tried to do it in the past, and it didn't work out. And so they had the idea to do a Batman versus Superman. They wanted Zack to continue in the role. I think it was more Christopher Nolan insisted that Zack continued in the role. So at this time, I think Jeff Johns wasn't happy that Snyder was involved, because when he spoke to Vulture before the release of Justice League, he said he tried to warn them about Man of Steel. So already, Jeff Johns' interview in Vulture is very, very telling. As is Henry Cavill's statement as he was promoting Justice League. I think we would have struggled even if there wasn't a Marvel Cinematic Universe. Yes, that still echoes in my head. Was that Henry talking for the studio, or was that Henry's true opinion? Now, don't forget, Henry came into a viewing party for Man of Steel and spoke to Zack Snyder as he announced the release of Zack Snyder's Justice League. So the whole thing's confusing. But anyway, so Johns was always opposed to Snyder. There's no question about that. We know that. You can't hide that. Now, whether the abuse is true or not, there's a lot of people accusing him of abuse now, so abuse of power at least, we shall see. Anyway, Batman versus Superman happened. And again, we got the TV spots and trailers. Now, for all of us who loved MOS, it was a very exciting time. We loved the trailers, the TV spots. Very, very exciting. Now, I got to see BVS before many, many people. And I tell you what, I said this is nominated for 12 Oscars. It's got Oscars written all over it. I really believed this after I saw BVS. I got home, I think a few days later or the next day later, I remember reading the reviews. And I was so shocked. I could not believe that people hated this movie. I thought, this movie's amazing. It's like an indie superhero movie. But the problem was, people didn't want that. The hardcore DC fans didn't want that. The hardcore Batman and Superman fans didn't want their characters deconstructed. My argument with that is, he reconstructed the characters in the final act. So what's your fucking problem? It's a great story and a great introduction for Gal Gadot's Wonder Woman. How awesome was that? A really good film, especially the Ultimate Edition, right? That is Zack Snyder's vision. Again, Warner Brothers interfering, getting scared, being reactive. So, as I say, the shit really hit the fan after after Batman versus Superman: Dawn of Justice. The hate was out there, but still, you could hear a pin drop. There was no one really defending Zack. There was a few arguments. We had a couple of videos why I love Batman versus Superman. There was some great people out there doing videos, you know, trying to bite back the hate. But the Snyder fandom and movement hadn't raised up yet. We were still afraid. But me being a big mouth, as that's my name, right? I actually did a video responding to the hatred. And I think it got about 30k views. Now, problem is it's not on this channel. It's on a defunct channel. And I tried to cross it over to this channel, but I can't. But it was a very successful video. I've never done a video as successful as that on this channel. But obviously, everyone wanted to talk and watch videos about BVS back then. So very, very successful. Anyway. And so I was very, very outspoken, but very, very few people was. It was really then, I think this is when Chris Wong Svensson started doing videos with Ping Pong Flicks. I remember watching his Man of Steel and Batman versus Superman commentaries. And I think from that, the movement was born. And then Fiona, but no Fiona yet. No Fiona yet, Mick. You're missing the point. Because the shit really hit the fans. If you thought it was divisive and toxic then we got the release of Justice League. That's when everybody knew that Zack Snyder and the fandom had been fucked over. We didn't smell a rat when Zack moved away allegedly because of his daughter's suicide. But I think we now know that's not really the reason he moved on. Anyway, we knew. This is when we knew. This is when Fiona rose. This is when the information started coming out and the Release the Snyder Cut community started. And this is when we started to really push back. And I remember when some of the information was coming out and I was kind of resistant to it. I said, no way, Jeff Johns wouldn't do this. No, it's all one big happy family. Ridiculous. All right, the Justice League movie was a bit short and sweet and a bit dodgy in places. But, you know, it had a great post-credit scene. We move on. It's a flop, which was disappointing. Of course it was disappointing. A Justice League movie being a flop. Again, it was another problematic edition of the DCEU. At least with BVS and MOS, they were great movies, even if people were shitting on them, right? You couldn't defend Justice League. This was the problem. Anyway, as more and more evidence came out and the fandom became bigger and we became proficient in fighting for Zack Snyder's vision and Zack came out, then it was amazing. And really for me, and I really wanted to do this video just to discuss this again, because for me, it is tough being a Snyder DCEU fan. The challenges of it are going on Twitter every day and just having to react to some poisonous, toxic blue checkmark. And it always staggers me, the hatred that comes from mainstream Hollywood for Zack and critics and people like that. They're not ashamed to swear about him, to call him a rubbish director. Comic book writers, these are established, successful people who can't keep their hatred and toxicity to themselves. And so it's very, very challenging to us, the fans, to have to deal with it. And I'm sure you're like me when you see the blue check marks and these established comic book writers and these directors being toxic towards Zack. And you kind of think, am I really reading? Am I hearing and reading what they're saying, right? Surely a professional person, successful person like you can't be standing up saying this. It's amazing, but this is where we are now with social media. Now, I think ever since I've known that the cut's happening, I've been more calmer with them. I do react when I see other people react. I have a laugh with it because they are funny. Because what these people either A, are trying to get some, attention to their accounts, or they actually believe what they say, right? Or they're trying to wind us up. But what happens in the end? The fandom is so big and brave and bold now, we can respond to all the hate. And they end up blocking everyone. It never works out how they want. Now, they think they're smart by blocking us all, but it doesn't matter. It just means we won. You started it, we finished it, and that's a warning to anyone who wants to come at Zack Snyder's DCEU or the fans. And that's what we are. we've been accused of being toxic bullies. But let me give you a little example here. If you find a dog and you keep on kicking it, it's going to bite you back and it's going to take off a limb. And this is what we were in the days of MOS and BVS when we didn't rise up. We were this dog being kicked and kicked and kicked. And in the end, we took out some limbs. Not literally, but this is the example, the contrast I'm trying to give you. I mean, I've been a fan of a great many directors and actors, and I've never, ever seen a situation like this. This is beyond me. The hatred for this man, Zack Snyder, is beyond me. I can't even compare it to anything else. I may have mentioned this before, but there's directors out there, of course, paedophiles, alleged rapists who don't get hatred like Zack does. Bryan Singer and Kevin Spacey don't get the hatred that Zack Snyder gets. I don't understand it. And this is what it's like on a daily basis to be a fan of Zack's DC movies, Man of Steel and BVS. And you think about the movies and how they lit the blue touch paper, how compelling and groundbreaking they are, and how we've actually had to fight for the sequel for both those movies. We shouldn't have had to fight. It should have been a given. But Warner Brothers became reactive to the reaction because all they ever wanted to do was echo the success of what Disney had with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I just thought I'd like to talk about what it's like to be a Snyder DCEU fan. I'm very proud of what he's achieved. I'm very proud of our fandom and what it's achieved. But yeah, it isn't easy. It can be draining on the mental health as well. And, you know, as I say, on a daily basis, it's like the latest fallout that when people found out he's been given a 70 to 100 million to finish his movie and do some reshoots. We've got idiots saying they could use that money to cure COVID. So, in other words, let's shut down the entertainment industry and give all the money for COVID research, right? No, that's not going to happen. Why? Because we are in a horrible time globally, all over the world, and we need entertainment, we need distraction, we need to enjoy things. Now, I know to some of these people, these alt-lefts who pretend to be kind all day, we should just sit there focusing on the real world and timely messages. But I need my escape, and this is my escape. There are a couple of great movies, and I can't wait for Zack Snyder's Justice League. Wow, it looks like we've got our Hulkman. Black Adam, Aldis Hodge in talks to play Hulkman in Dwayne Johnson's superhero movie. Now, I've never heard of Aldis Hodge in my life, but congratulations to Aldis because he actually has confirmed on Instagram that he has got the role. There's no talks. I don't know why they do this. It's official. Aldis Hodge will play Hulkman in Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam movie. He's 6 foot, he's tall, he looks the business. I've been told he's one of the great actors. So I'm happy about this casting because people are telling me he's really good. So I will check out his stuff and let you know about that. So let's read this article. Leverage star, he was in Leverage star, Aldis Hodge is in talks to play the role of Hulkman opposite Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson in Black Adam. DC and New Line's highly anticipated superhero movie, according to an individual with knowledge of the project. It's done. He's been cast. Hulkman is the name of several DC Comics heroes, but the best-known version are the original incarnation created by Gardner Fox and Dennis Neville in 1940, and rebooted version created by Gardner Fox and Joel Kubert in 1961, and later revamped by Timothy Truman. The 1940 character was the alter ego of archaeologist Carter Hall, who discovers he's the reincarnation of an ancient Egyptian prince cursed and murdered by an evil priest. The 1961 version reimagined him as Carter Hole, an alien from the planet Fangar, whose costume is the uniform worn by his world's police force, the Wingmen. An individual with knowledge of the project tells The Wrap Black Adam will feature Carter Hall, though specifics about the character are not known. It will be interesting to see what version of the character we're going to get. All versions of Hulkman are able fly using He missed out too, didn't they? These are bloody professional bloody journalists. All versions of Hulkman are able to fly using artificial wings made out of a rare alien metal that counteracts the laws of gravity and take their name from their mask resembling a hawk. The first look at how this will appear on screen came August the 22nd during Warner Brothers' virtual Comic-Con alternative DC Fandom, courtesy of a pair of Black Adam backstory teasers introduced by Johnson. The clicked motion comics created entirely using concept art explained that millennia ago Black Adam was a citizen of an advanced ancient civilization chosen by the Council of Wizards, the same group whose last surviving member gave Billy Batson his powers in 2019 Shazam to liberate his people from slavery. However, Black Adam's brand of justice was too cruel and vindictive, and in response the council imprisoned him seemingly for all eternity. But 5,000 years later, he escapes and sets out to continue what he started. This time, however, superheroes have emerged, and 4 of them, Cyclone, Atom Smasher, Dr. Fate and Hulkman, unite as the Justice Society to oppose him. See how Hulkman looked in that concept art below. Pretty awesome. Awesome. Hodge joins a cast which includes Noah Centineo, who will play Atom Smasher, a character who can control his molecular structure with the ability to manipulate his size, strength, and durability. Jumi Collett-Serra, who also directed Johnson in Disney's Jungle Cruise, is on board to direct. Rory Haynes and Sora Noshrana wrote the latest draft of the screenplay. Adam Stiskill wrote the previous draft due to COVID-19. It is currently unknown when the superhero movie is expected to go before cameras, but studios eyeing a second quarter 2021 production start. Basically, it will start filming the beginning of next year, I have no doubt about that. COVID will not stop filming or the entertainment industry anymore. The only problem they do have is where they're going to show people these movies. Boo Flynn and Fling Pictures Co. is producing with Johnson and Danny Garcia. We don't care about all of that. All we care about is that this actor has been cast as Hulkman, and it's very, very exciting. Now, as I say, I've never seen this guy act before, so I can't say, oh, he's the greatest actor ever. Aldis Hodge. Follow him on Instagram. Not sure if he's on Twitter as well. Check him out on there if he's there. Aldis Hodge will be playing Hulkman. So I'm very excited about this film and about all the castings and everything I'm hearing. To have a Hulkman movie, to have a Black Adam movie that's going to have Black Adam versus the Justice Society of America is extremely exciting for me. And, you know, I can't wait to get the trailers and the TV spots and see the on-set pics, hopefully official ones, by the way, so we don't have more controversy like we did with Shazam. Personally, I don't give a shit if the pictures are official or not, but people lose their shit about everything these days, and any excuse to kind of bash Warner Brothers over the head, isn't it? But anyway, very exciting. I've been excited about this film for a very, very long time, and I just can't wait till it finally starts shooting, because this film is going to be amazing. And finally today, we remember the late, great Christopher Reeve, because it was the man's birthday yesterday. It was my absolute pleasure and honour to see all the tweets and all the respect paid to Chris yesterday, because absolutely Chris was a great man, a brave man, and what happened to him in the latter part of his life was so tragic, and the way he took it on his chin and fought for stem cell research and became a director and continued his acting was bravery like I've only seen once, and that was Patrick Swayze still acting when he was dying of a very, very horrific disease. But Chris's bravery was there. But people love Christopher Reeve because he was the ultimate Superman. This isn't about who's better than who. This is about the first great Superman. Now, me saying that will upset George Reeves fans, because George Reeves, in his day, was everybody's Superman. He was really kind of the first Superman, even though there was another couple of guys who played him. But he was the first one. But for my generation, Christopher Reeve was Superman. And for many of us, he still is. Why is it that people love Christopher Reeve as Superman? Well, for me, it's just, he just embodied the character. He looks like the character, but he embodied him. And the way he made Superman and Clark two different people was absolute genius. And that was really Chris's concept. Beautiful, but you've got to credit Tom Mankiewicz for the writing and, of course, Dick Donner for directing a beautiful movie. But for me, Chris just had it. He was 6 foot. He was a beautiful looking guy. He looked like a god rather than a real person. And the performance of Superman captivated young people all over the world. We all wanted to be him, whether we were little boys or little girls. Little girls were in love with Superman, and little boys wanted to be Superman. And that's what it's all about. Some of us even wanted to be Jimmy Olsen. Even that character was awesome in that movie, and in that series, by the way. But Chris just captured it. Chris captured what it meant to be that character. That's what I feel. It nailed it. And he nailed it so well. He, of course, was Superman for the rest of his life. I'm sure that must have been hard for Chris at first, with the rest of his career not taking off like his role as Superman did. But I think in the end he accepted it and he went with it. I mean, even later on, guest starring on Smallville as Dr. Virgil Swan, and someone showed the clips of, the first scene in the kind of when he first meets Clark and tells Clark where he's from. It's a beautiful moment. And Alan Miles, the series creators of Smallville, could have just wheeled him over for a cameo. But it was beautiful. Everything Chris did was more than you ever expected. He was simply a big part of my childhood. And he's spoken about, when he was alive, about, how do you see Superman? I see him as a friend. And that's a very big thing. And partly Superman is a friend. And I think when people talk about, how do you get a Superman movie right? That's one of the elements. Superman is a friend. Now, this is not me criticising the Snyderverse, because I love Man of Steel. But I think it's an important element. Superman should be children's friends. And I also feel when you're making a Superman film, you should kind of think about kids as well. And I mean, Snyder's been very direct about this. His version is for adults. He even, bit back at Scott Mendelson and said that about Zack Snyder's Justice League, and that's fair enough. But I think the difference between Reeve's Superman and Cavill's Superman is that Reeve's Superman was for everyone. Now, that isn't a criticism. It's just the way that it is. And I think when people keep on saying, we want the Reeves Superman, I don't agree with that, because we've got the Blu-rays, we can watch it whenever we want. We do want something fresh and something new, and that's fine. And I think that J.J. Abrams will give us something fresh and something new. And Cavill fans, which I am one, by the way, won't be too happy with. I personally am very embracing of any new ideas. I just want to see Superman everywhere in live action. But yes, Christopher Reeve took Superman. Superman was always popular in comics. He was the first comic book superhero. He's the creator of the superhero comic. He brought that popularity onto film and to the mainstream audience. Then everybody loved Superman in 1978. It's been very different and difficult for Superman since Christopher Reeve. And you'd have to be a very deluded person to deny that. There are a lot of people who love Cavill's Superman. There's a lot of people who love Dean Cain as Superman. There's lots of people who love Tom Welling as Clark Kent, me included. But everybody loved this man as Superman and Clark Kent. That's the difference. It's very different with Batman, because you've got some people love Keaton, some people love Bale. There's even some people who like Clooney and Kilmer, right? And there's some people who love Bale. I think Bale is still held as probably the greatest Batman, but I think it's more split with Batman, and you can kind of get away with more newer takes on the character. I think with Superman, the ghost of Christopher Reeve will always be there, and of course, that's a bittersweet thing. It just makes it more difficult to divorce people from Chris's version. But him, Dick, and Tom Mankiewicz did such a great job with that first movie. that it was untouchable. And even though this film was made in 1978, in a lot of ways, it still is untouchable. Happy birthday for yesterday, Christopher Reeve. I'm whipping myself every minute of the day for forgetting your birthday and not mentioning this yesterday, but a great man, a great actor, a great version of Superman. He is the reason I fell in love with the character. Like Cavill is some of your reasons for falling in love with Superman, or Tom Welling, or Dean Cain, or whatever. Everyone has their version that made them a fan, and that's okay, because I don't hate what other people love, or I don't talk about my hate for what other people love. I talk about my love for the things that I love. And I think if we all did that in this world and on the internet, wouldn't it be a much better place to be? Comment down below, like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back tomorrow with even more DC Multiverse Daily. See you again soon.